Hey guys, welcome back. BDC Kara here. We're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. This is for the week of October 17th, 2024. The current character challenge is Batman Ninja Lord Joker. That is a 1-week repeat. The required characters for that are Harley Quinn, Deathstroke, and Joker, who are available at Bronze, and Silver tier respectively. His passive is the Cult of the Demon King, which is when Joker KOs an enemy. For 10 seconds, his attack deals 100% life drain and enemy life drain heals him. And Gunner teammates' special attacks cause 20% damage to the opponent's tagged out teammates. Gunners are Deadshot, Deathstroke, Harley Quinn, Lobo, and the Joker. He's got 1,500 attack, 1,300 health.
Yeah. Thematically, I would have liked Batman as a required character better than Deathstroke. But practically, I think Deathstroke is better because you can get him as a bronze.
Yeah.
And I guess it fits his passive, too, because Deathstroke is one of his gunner teammates.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. They're all sort of gunner teammates, right?
Yeah.
So he was one of the last challenge golds that was added to the game. He's got the highest stats combined. He's tied with Flashpoint Batman and Blackest Night Flash with the highest base damage. And he's tied with a few other characters, Flashpoint Batman, Injustice 2 Aquaman, New 52 Superman, and Injustice 2 Superman. Oh, and Batman Ninja Batman with the highest total stats at 2,800. And I like his stat setup actually better than Batman Ninja Batman because he's got more of it in attack instead of health. So despite having higher attack than Batman Ninja Batman, his Special 2 is not as good because it's got the same weaknesses and it doesn't lend itself to being leveraged to do more damage because it doesn't have an element of stun in it. Splash damage, pretty cool. It isn't game-changing unless you lean into a bit and make a team of gunners who are specialists, or use him as a specialist and add some more splash damage gear to up the numbers. And even though it says gunner teammates in the passive, he gets to do splash too, not just his own teammates. I mean, he says it's, the Joker's name is included, but sometimes when you have teammates, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think, for example, one of the Suicide Squad passives, it doesn't count himself. So, 20%. If it's on Special 1, it's nowhere near enough compared to, say, League of Assassins Knives at 50%, but you can stack it, right? And that's 70%. That's not bad. 20% on Special 2 compares pretty favorably with Fourth World Mace, which gives 15% on Special 2. But if you're going to be doing that, trying to maximize splash damage, it becomes an issue of which gears to use when you've only got the 3 slots to work with, right? So you can either try to max out the splash or max out power generation so they can actually tag in ready to do some specials.
Mm-hmm.
It is tempting to have him with our Flashpoint Deathstroke because the way we've geared out our Flashpoint team with Deathstroke doing a ton of splash damage with the League of Assassins Knives, you lose out on some of the pirate crew damage that you would have gotten with a full Flashpoint team. So, nothing really special that you want to stick him on that team for. Another potential teammate with synergy is Arkham Origins Deadshot, whose passive 20% splash on shooting attacks lets you get even more splash damage with Deadshot without having to use up any gear slots.
Mm-hmm.
So the main limitation of using Special 1, even though it could potentially have 70% splash damage, is that unlike Batgirl, any of the Batgirl skins, or Luchador Bane, Batman Ninja Lord Joker doesn't have any built-in stun opportunities, and none of his gunner teammates are one of the stun-boosted monsters, right? Where you can leverage the damage and leverage a bit of stun. I mean, so you could get a very high percentage of splash damage. You won't be doing as much damage as Luchador Bane or any of the Batgirls would to the opponent facing you because of that. You could try to use another teammate to stun, but then you really start limiting yourself in the options for team composition.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest damage with this, the biggest danger with the splash damage strategy is Brandish Ninjato. So it focuses splash damage on an opponent, gives them a lot of power when they tag in, and so they'll be dropping in with the potential to do a splash damage special on you. I'm getting all my words mixed up with the first couple consonants. It is late tonight.
Mm-hmm. But the show must go on.
Yes. Other abilities. Okay, so I've never found that the 10 seconds of life drain makes any sort of a practical difference. I'm a bigger fan of boosted offense instead of boosting defense, which is what any healing ability is. But I think sometimes maybe I take for granted that I'm just getting the health anyways. And I just don't notice it because he's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
The Joker is really good as deadweight if you've got Batman and Catwoman, even if you do nothing with him because it saves you from being knocked out once. And like I said earlier about the biggest problem, he's got the same problem as Batman Ninja Batman. So no matter how much damage his special 2 does, only the last hit can knock out the opponent. The built-in passive enabled splash damage of 20% makes up for that a bit because you're spreading more damage. But that inability to do any other knockouts, right? It leaves you vulnerable to whatever effect that the opponent has on tagging in. It leaves you vulnerable to an opponent that revives because they aren't knocked out and Tenzi Toto won't give you your power back. And it leaves you vulnerable to Raven Prime. Health swap. So the biggest solution and what you're seeing in this team is Enchantress Companion Gear. It's a great solution. And there's a couple fights where you're going to see that he doesn't even get to finish his special 2 because the skulls coming in actually knock out the opponent. And that's even better because what it means is that you get a chance to spread his special 2 over other players after the first knockout. Combined with his passive, Enchantress is especially good against Raven Prime. And what it means is, go ahead, you trigger her passive, the skulls will heal you, and after you knock her out, your passive will heal you too, while protecting you from the next opponent tagging in, and potentially doing a special on you before you would otherwise be able to heal yourself. Now, if she happens to be the opponent tagging in after you've knocked out one of her teammates, you can see how much you get healed every time you hit her after triggering her passive, which is great. So one minor tip is that you block after the swipe combo when you tag in. So we're doing the swipe combo to complete our second bar of power. The tap combo doesn't have enough range, and the swipe combo does 2 hits and shoves the opponent back. Blocking helps you maintain the distance, so when they get up to run to you, that separation is enough to get better timing to have your next special 2 unblocked. And so the comparison is that if you don't block, you're the one walking up to them, and then it's harder to time your attack with the visual cues of them getting up.
So there we go. So we're like 25 weeks into the cycle of the challenge cycle. We are back to sort of repeating old challenges without that alternating pattern. And you had a point about sort of our last opportunity to return to the alternating pattern and keep the challenge.
So I was just counting the characters that are left, right? So if they're going to go back to that alternating at some point, sort of the last chance to do that is going to be about 4 months from now.
Yeah.
And they could always shove it in at the end at a bunch. What I'm hoping is that there is somebody who's planning this and doing this and decided, let's just keep it interesting and keep some interest right up until the end so that we can stretch it out as long as possible and eventually get to a full cycle, but not do it all at once and then sort of have nothing nothing to look forward to, right? Yeah,
so we'll have to see, but it's hard to say, right? The whole point is that we don't know, so we're kind of having to guess. It's inscrutable.
So the clues because this is now 4 weeks in a row of the old pattern.
Yeah.
The clue in the store is
Bounty Hunter Lobo for next week. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. This week's multiplayer reward is Blackest Night Superman, and his ability is Necron's Champion for the Dead Will Rise, which is Superman's special attacks do necrotic damage to the opponents, causing wounds that can't heal, and Blackest Night characters are immune to unblockables and gain health for every knocked out opponent. He's got 1,375 attack, 1,425 health, was last available on the 14th of March of this year. Nothing is missing from the multiplayer reward challenge cycles, and we expect to see Cloak of Destiny next week.
Okay, good high stats. The first part of his passive is one of those that sounds better than it actually is in practice. The amount of necrotic damage isn't game-changing. It takes too long to build up enough if you're facing someone who heals. The second part, immunity to unblockables, it's really good. Great counter to the god of unblockables, which is Ares, with his special 2 God Smack, which is not only unblockable by itself, but will also cause you to normally be unable to block after Ares does his God Smack, except with this passive. Negates it. It's also great against most stuns on tagging, like Luchador Bane and Cloak of Destiny and Lexicore Gauntlets, as long as you're blocking. And it helps against unblockable specials like Arkham Knight Batgirl or Arkham Harley Quinn, or actually any of the Harley Quinns, right? With Arkham Knight Batgirl is just special because her specials always have an unblockable chance, whatever. But the bomb for Arkham Harley Quinn on special 2 for all of them is unblockable. But there's one specific exception to that. So it doesn't work on the Earth 2 tag-in stun, meaning Earth 2 tag-ins can still stun your Blackest Night team, even if you're blocking. Probably because the Earth 2 stun is the only one that doesn't do any damage. So if it's damage that can never be unblockable, this sort of bypasses that.
Yeah.
The problem really is that he's still not the top 3 Blackest Night cards. To me, the top 3 Blackest Night cards are Flash, because of, the 100% health on reviving, reversing damage over time, being able to interrupt the opponent's basics. He's, to me, the best Blackest Night character. Yeah. Hawkgirl is the next one because everybody revives. So she's basically increasing the availability of the really good Blackest Night teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman because he's got unblockable chance on attacks.
Yeah. So there you go.
He at best he's number 4, so I tend not to use him even when I'm using a Blackest Night team.
Yeah. So it's tough, It's unfortunate he doesn't quite make the list.
Yeah.
In the store, we have the Bounty Hunter Lobo Challenge Pack. That's for 200,000 power credits. It gives you a 6.16% chance of Bounty Hunter Lobo instead of the regular 2.86% chance you get, along with a 2.86% chance of everybody else in the normal packs.
Right.
And you run the math, and it's not worth it unless this is basically the only card you want multiple copies of, and you'd be selling back like almost everything else.
Yeah.
So just that, and that applies to basically nobody.
Right.
Or should apply to, I think, nobody really. We also have the Alien Invasion Pack for $24.99 Canadian. All prices in Canadian because that's the info we have access to.
And that is the only currency that matters.
And that comes with Lobo, Martian Manhunter, and Darkseid. So there we go. Everything else is kind of old news at this point.
Right.
Phantom Zone is finished. Fight 62 is still broken. Last weekend's breakthrough for golds was Cyborg, Batgirl, and Black Adam. This coming weekend's should be Deadshot, Wonder Woman, and Static. We have a link in the description to a thread in the Injustice Mobile subreddit from Devlin16 that goes over the complete breakthrough cycle that you can check out for yourself. And we will go into more detail about the glitches every time something changes. Nothing happened this week. You can always check out our playlist for doing all the glitches that are currently available. And we also go into more detail on the first video of every month. That was the 2nd of October for this month. Importantly, the only thing worth mentioning is that the challenge reset is still working, tested and confirmed on the Batman Ninja Lord Joker challenge.
Right.
So there we go. To finish up, we'd like to give a huge thank you to all of our lovely patrons on Patreon.
That would be Michael Devries, Irvin, Ruiz, Hoshi127, and Nora Klimek, who are supporting us on the credited level.
There we go. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks so much to all of you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Komoda.